What up, dudes? It's Gaz, and welcome back to another Warframe video. So we're doing an overview of Jade's abilities and basically a theory-crafted build for her release version. Jade Shadows is coming out on the 18th, and the newest frame Jade is looking really strong, so we'll be going over that today. Before we do, though, make sure you sub this channel. We do daily Warframe video uploads. I'll be live with the weekly reset tomorrow, as well as the weekly reset overview video. So you're in the right place for Warframe content. We're also covering the Jade Shadows update in depth when it comes out in about 10 days from today. So let's get right into this. Okay, so for Jade Shadows, we're going to be using Wisp as the, the test candidate, I guess. There's no mods on this build right now. I also took all the shards off. So when we're putting these builds together, we'll be using this format right here as far as what we want to use. Now, starting off with Jade's first ability, and actually her passive will make a pretty big difference here. We got the official website. So first off, Jade's passive. Jade's going to have two passives, technically. So first, she has 2 aura mod slots. What that means is that on your build for Jade, we got Wisp here, obviously, you're going to be able to have 2 aura mods. So you could have corrosive rejection and like EMP aura or whatever. And also, these aura mods will both give you capacity, so getting a full build on Jade will be very, very easy. Now, let's think about some synergistic double auras you could run on Jade. And reminder, too, she's supposed to kind of be a support frame, so we can keep that in mind, too. So, for squad play, there are things like Growing Power. Once we go over some of Jade's later abilities, she has a power strength buffing ability for her teammates. So Growing Power can be even more power strength for your teammates. On weapon status effect, squad will get increased power strength by 25% for 6 seconds. So whatever power strength buff she's going to give with one of her abilities, and then also you could have this giving another 25. Now, since we're going to have 2 aura slots, what would you want to run with Growing Power? Well, there is this one right here called Power Donation. Now, I can't put it on here right now, but what it's going to do is that you personally lose 30% power strength. But all your teammates gain 30% power strength as well. So with the combination of Power Donation and Growing Power, you will be in the negative by 5% power strength, but your teammates will all be getting 55% power strength before her abilities are applied. So that could be a pretty decent combination right there for like a power strength support Jade loadout. You'd have Power Donation and you'd have Growing Power. You'd be suffering a little bit by losing power strength, but depending on how her abilities scale, you'd be giving overall buffs to your teammates a lot. So 55% from just your auras alone. You slap on things like her 3, which is apparently going to buff power strength. It might be over 100% power strength buff for your teammates. That's all well and good for a power strength buffing build. What could we also run? Well, you could always run Brief Respite, which is going to give your teammates shields when they cast abilities, and she's going to have an overshield restoring ability as well. What would you put with Brief Respite? Well, I'm thinking for endurance runs, the types of multipliers you throw in your damage can be pretty nice. So for an endurance setup, you could do Brief Respite and Holster Amp. You could do Brief Respite and Corrosive Rejection. Reminder, enemy's armor is going to be overall reduced. For just, overall survivability, you could do Corrosive Rejection and then also Holster Amp. So 60% squad weapon damage bonus on swap. She's going to also have a weapon damage buff on one of her abilities. So, you're going to soften up their enemy armor with Corrosive Rejection, and you're going to have Holster Amp for even more damage. Some other goofy ones, too. You could maybe do Combat Discipline. Lose health on kill, but squad mates get healed on kill. You can slap that on with, like, Rejuvenation or something. So you have constant health regeneration. Now, I'd say a lower rank. You might want to do a lower rank Combat Discipline. The reason you would run this is because this lets you... That health loss on kill procs things like Arcane Avenger and Arcane Grace. So you could do like a rank 1 Combat Discipline, which gives you less mod capacity, but still it makes you take less health or less damage. So one of these and then a Rejuvenation Aura mod would offset it. So that's what you could definitely do. After every kill you take 1 damage to proc Arcane Avenger, and you're constantly regenerating 3 health per second. So that's a kind of fun one for sure. As far as some other ones, like there's plenty of options here. But most of the good ones are going to be like power strength involving or like debuffing enemies involving. You could throw on Energy Siphon and Dreamer's Bond to give everybody give everybody about like 1 energy per second before Nourish. That could be kind of okay. And as far as some other weird ones, you got like Swift Momentum and other weird ones like that. So overall, there's not as many aura mods as you would hope, but there are some pretty interesting ones for putting a build together when you have 2 aura mods available to you. And also, power donation gives you a lot of mod capacity too. She's going to have no issues with mod capacity. Her second passive is that her first ability and fourth ability debuff enemies with a special damage multiplier that is separate from viral. So let's have Pablo describe this to you.
Her passive is that her 1 and her 4th apply a debuff to enemies they hit. Her first ability creates this zone over here, and as you can see, that's where that is. And while I'm inside the zone, you can see in the upper right I have that little indicator there. That means that I'm taking healing over time as long as I'm inside. And when I leave, you can see it now goes from infinite duration to a set duration, similar to how it works with Wisp and her modes. Essentially, while you're in the area, they last forever. Once you get out, it changes. You can have up to 3 of these zones. And for enemies, when you throw it to them, basically it'll deal damage over time, and it will mark them with your passive, which is what I was talking about earlier, which basically increases how much damage they take from all sources.
Okay, so first ability is going to be a healing zone for you and a damaging debuffing zone for the enemies. So like I said, since she's going to have that separate debuff from viral, I'm assuming that debuff will scale with power strength. So she's going to be a power strength frame, it seems like. So mods you'll be looking for. You'll be looking for mods like Blind Rage, looking for mods like Transient Fortitude. Depending on how much power strength we really need on her and how much duration we really need on her, you are going to be potentially going for big power strength numbers. So even with power donation on here, we're already at 224. So, you know, if we were to like jam everything on here, we'd be at like 300% power strength plus. Those debuffs should be nasty. You combine things like Nourish on there. Nourish is going to give you an energy multiplier, so you'll be constantly topped off on energy, and your weapons will be doing viral. Since she's going to be debuffing them separately from viral, the damage this frame can put out will be immense. So I'm thinking power strength will be good on her. Now the healing aspect of it will probably be okay for lower levels. It looked like percent healing, so percent health healing. If you had a large health pool, it would heal overall more health. So if you had like an Umbra build on like a Naros or whoever, it was 5% healing per second. So, you know, if you are running a health build, I could see that maybe potentially being okay. But for the time being right now, I'm going to go maximum strength. Let's read what the rest of her abilities actually do. That first ability does seem pretty good, though. It probably won't get helminth off, depending how annoying her fourth ability is to use in endurance runs. All right, we want her second ability. So the second ability, cycle through 3 different auras. Swapping between auras does not cost any energy after casting. So first aura is going to be a shield regeneration, including overshield, so you can get overshields from her, this ability. Second ability is the one I was talking about earlier. Increase ability strength. It's 30% power strength buff at base, and that should scale with your strength. So you'd be giving your teammates 100% power strength in some situations if you're really going crazy with the strength. And the last buff she has, increased squad weapon damage.
For her second ability, she has 3 different auras that you can select from. So if I activate it here, you can see I get squad shield effectiveness. So you can see my overshields are growing.
You can't really
until they reach the cap. Now,
you can't really see the rate of the overshields, but this is a duration-based buff ability in an aura.
Switch to this one, which this increases my ability strength. And as you can see, I actually kept the overshield, so you can actually kind of do some strategery things there. Also, you can do the same with this power strength one, because you can, for example, right now you could cast her 3 or her 4th or her 1, which will snapshot the power strength that she has right now, and then after that you could switch to the other aura, which is weapon damage increase for the squad. So you are kind of incentivized to swap around the auras as you need them. Again, it costs you no energy to swap the aura. It's just the initial cast that costs.
Okay, so the fact that she does not need to drain additional energy when she swaps auras and only needs 1 energy cost per aura makes me think that Blind Rage should be no problem at all. She's not looking like really an ability spam frame at all. Like, you might use her first ability nade just because you go from group to group of enemies so quickly. But yeah, overall, I'm thinking that Blind Rage and no efficiency should be fine as long as we're not taking her 4th ability into account. Her 4th ability will be an exalted weapon that will drain energy over time, so that could potentially be a problem. But for what I'm looking at right now, I'm looking at range and strength here so far. I'm going to put on a range mod for Archons, or for normal stretch. We could even put on Augur Reach here for the time being until we decide on what final mods we want. We're probably going to want Prime Flow on here too, so maybe Prime Flow instead of Augur Reach could be better. But that's what I'm looking at right now. And maybe even put on Rolling Guard, as she will have shield regen, but you know, the shield we'll have to see how the shield regen actually ends up working when you're actively taking damage. And you know what? Might as well just throw on Prime Sure Footed while we're over here too. I know not everybody has this, but if you do have this, this is one of the best mods in the game that you can run. Okay, so looking at what we have right now, a 268% power strength build with power donation active. So if we were to take power donation off, we'd have even more power strength. So that 30% power strength we get from her aura is going to make it where, you know, potentially 100% power strength from these guys. Can I find growing power on here? So if you were running the growing power, and I guess I can't find growing power. If you're running the growing power donation combo, you'd be buffing your teammates a lot with this kind of setup. Now let's go over the rest of the abilities so we can just get this all situated here. Got the third ability of Jade. An enemy in her line of sight is slowed and suffers armor strip effects. Downed allies within her sight will also be revived from afar when cast. This is Jade's helmet ability, but it does not include the revive portion. So, just to get the heads up, we've already investigated this. This is a very, very slow-looking armor strip. It took about 7 seconds to armor strip these enemies. So, this might be a really bad ability as far as the armor strip, but we'll have to see here.
For her third ability, any enemy that's on her sight gets slowed down and gets their armor removed. So you can see these guys now are moving quite slowly, and their armor is now gone. And they're basically at the mercy of my gaze. For the ally part of this ability, we have this. You can see Mark is over there. He died. He's one of the designers working in Jade. And I can just use my third ability and I can revive him at a distance just by looking at him. It's my very, very powerful sight.
Okay, so third ability is going to be an armor and shield removal, and that will be in line of sight. So range should affect how far the line of sight of this armor strip goes, but regardless, it seems like a pretty slow armor strip. This may be the ability you helminth off, depending on if you actually care about her fourth ability in the first place. So, yeah, I think the build that we've got going on right now is actually fine for the armor strip ability. You know, depending on how much energy it costs, like I said, it might get helminth off for Nourish. And yeah, as far as growing power, if we were to put growing power on her, we'd be at 298% power strength before growing power is procced. So, looking at that, 298, you throw another 25, you're going to be at like 300 plus. And then with the power strength buff into the mix, you'll be at like 400 plus, which should be pretty nasty. We're not even involving arcanes right now. So, look at the last ability here. Yeah, I think I might helminth off either her 1 or her 3. The 2 just seems way too powerful. The extra like auras of usefulness. So let's go over her last ability, and this is for a support frame. This ability doesn't seem very support-like. Take flight and deal damage with your exalted weapon. Mark enemies with your first ability to detonate them on the alt fire. Okay,
and
so
finally, she takes flight.
Yeah.
As you can see, she moves kind of similar to Hildren, but way faster.
So these okay, I'm gonna mute Pablo. These enemies are taking fire damage right now, and they're also taking fire procs, noticeably. So she will have built-in fire procs, and in the Jade Shadows update, enemies' overall armor is going to be reduced. So on a corrosive build, she'll have fire already going on the enemies for extra armor strip, which will mean they'll have basically 1% armor left after all things are said and done. So yes, now here's the big thing. On this ability, we don't know what type of exalted weapon this is. We know it is an exalted weapon. We don't know if it's going to use pistol mods, rifle mods, shotgun mods. Who knows? We don't know that part right now. And yeah, so how this goes, you'll have a primary shot, and you'll also have an alt fire. Enemies marked by your first ability or by your fourth ability will have the vulnerability to use the alt fire on them for massive damage. That 600,000 right there, that was from an exalted, the alt fire of the exalted weapon detonating the mark. So that's going to be all of Jade's abilities. And as far as what I've seen so far, I am thinking that massive power strength will be the way to go. Now, we probably are a little bit low on the duration front, but the way it looks like it, you're going to cast one of her buffs, and you'll just walk around and you'll swap the buffs around to whatever one you want at the current time. So the duration might not be needed on her. The only thing you'd maybe want duration and efficiency for is the drain of her 4. I'm sure the drain of her 4 could get pretty ridiculous at times because, you know, Exalteds in general can do that. Let's see how the drain is looking in this footage right here. Look at her energy bar. So it is draining relatively fast. If you had negative duration, I could see that draining really quickly. So if you were trying to do an Exalted build, maybe throw on a Streamline, maybe throw on some more duration, maybe throw on a Fleeting Expertise and edit it a little bit. I don't think that for me, I'll be mainly using her as a support frame with her auras and with her debuff grenade. You know, getting some debuffs on enemies, pretty nice. Armor strip, probably not going to be as good, so either helminth off her 3 or her 4. Now, as far as the the augments and Arcanes I'm going to run, there's always multi-augmented for 60% more power strength. That's going to be great. Depending if I run Energize or not, or Nourish or not, I could likely throw on Energize, obviously. But I think that she'll have some pretty good synergy, depending on what you're looking to do. We're going to have 60% power strength for that. So we're going to be at nearly 500% power strength on that frame with all these buffs up. So it's going to be pretty nuts. As far as some other Arcanes besides Energize, Aegis, she has a shield restore over time, so Aegis could be pretty good because you'll be constantly getting shields back. You should never be able to have your shield fully broken. Depending on what you're DPSing with, things like Arcane Precision could be great. Once we figure out what type of Exalted she has, Precision can give you 300% power, or 300% secondary damage. So that can be pretty good. But it does require a headshot, so it might be a little bit more difficult with her AoE Exalted. There's Arcanes like Arcane. If it's a primer, it could be Arcane Rage. That's on headshot as well, unfortunately, but still some more base damage. There's things like Arcane Arachne. This will work on anything as long as you wall latch. So you could wall latch and then enter her 4th ability to have a ton of extra damage in her Exalted form. So really the options are out there, guys. But I'm thinking Energize and Augmented are going to be nice and safe at first. And yeah, she is going to look like she could shield gate pretty well, I'd say. So I don't think that we'll really need catalyzing shields as she has shield regen built in. Now, as far as what shards should you go for on Jade, I mean, the build we've got right now, we're at nearly 500% power strength when you apply her second ability. But hey, you know what? What's wrong with a little bit more power strength? You could go for some more power strength on shards. If you think your duration is kind of low, which it might be on our build, you could go duration. Reminder too, in the Jade Shadows update, the enemy's overall armor is being reduced, so 1 Tau Shard could be great with your debuffs. Throw on 1 green Tau Shard for increased corrosive stacks by 3. Enemies will have nearly all their armor stripped, and you'll have the debuff of her first ability, Nade, and Viral procs. It should kill, and also the heat procs from your 4 as well. Nearly any enemy in the game should be dead with that combination of stuff. 13 corrosive procs, 10 Viral procs, 1 heat proc, and then, all the crazy buffs she's got going on. So things like Power Strength Shards should be honestly just enough for what you need. But, casting speed is always pretty good. Parkour velocity can be okay depending on what kind of missions you're running. As far as the newer shards besides green ones, on orange shards, we are going to be getting blast proc changes. So regenerate 5 shields whenever you kill an enemy with blast damage. I believe that works if you just damage enemies with blast. So the new blast procs doing damage every so often might be pretty good on that. If her Exalted is a pistol, getting increased critical chance every time you kill an enemy with heat status, she has heat already going on, so I can see that being interesting. And for the purple shards, probably not any of this stuff, really, unless you're going for like a melee build, but gain primary electric damage and it increases every shard you have equipped. That could be okay depending on what her Exalted actually is. Gain increased damage against enemies affected by electric procs, won't be as good. Equilibrium shard could be okay depending how energy hungry she's looking. I mean, she didn't look that energy hungry. If you only have to cast the second ability once, you can cycle through it. Doesn't seem really that big of a deal. So so here's my current shard idea for Jade. 1 green Tau Shard for armor corrosive procs in the middle, because that's the best place to put it aesthetically. Everything else, power strength, power strength, power strength, power strength. I say let's go for the 500% power strength build on Jade. Our debuffs will be nuts. If the armor strip scales with strength to do it quicker, that would be nuts. The weapon damage buff, if that scales with strength, will be nuts. We'll have so many multipliers on these abilities that the sheer power we're putting out for our teammates should just be unmatchable. It's gonna make some of these support frames look pretty bad in comparison. But yeah, that's basically it for the video, guys. Theorycraft over. Let me know what you guys think about Jade and what kind of build you're looking to run. I'm thinking there's maximum power strength and 1 green Tau Shard to get them nearly fully debuffed. Now, we might still need to run 2 green Archon Shards in the new patch just to get them fully debuffed, and that's fine with me because they're going to already, I'm going to probably have Nourish on her, so the viral on everything will be really disgusting. And yet we might be a little bit overkill on the power strength, but I think this will be a pretty fun build going forward. All right, guys, see you next video. Take it easy. Peace.